You're watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show, the only video game show that read all of the cliff notes to Final Fantasy XIII.
We didn't.
Shut the hell up. Do you want the Final Fantasy fanboys to hate us?
Too late.
Alright, cat out of the bag. Most gamers probably understand and know that when it comes to Final Fantasy XIII, it pretty much boils down to either pretty much loving it or hating it.
Pretty much.
No, that's not right.
There were some redeeming qualities that made the game a spectacle. I mean, hell, the visuals alone were enough to grab your attention. Yet, this wasn't always going to make a game good. Other players found reasons they really didn't like it, such as the overuse of the linear hallways, the lack of exploration, or maybe the gameplay was just too different and was almost unrecognizable as the series they grew to love changed around them.
It's unbelievable. I don't understand how this piece of shit exists. I really don't. How many levels did this story have to pass through for them to not only make this game, but to build an entire franchise around it?
And it's no secret that over 20 years, Final Fantasy has been growing and expanding its universe. A lot of innovations were tried. Some better than others. But now Final Fantasy XIII has evolved into its very own trilogy.
Final Fantasy XIII-1 was the pioneer that had a whole bunch of high expectations, but unfortunately, it had too many complaints to count. But it did try something new.
The opinions are subjective, but not many were positive. The linearity, of course, was a primary issue, but not many were on board with the overly ambitious storyline. In short, most story-driven gamers enjoy getting fed the logic of the world they are exploring at a regular pace, without getting overwhelmed with too much information. That's my primary issue with the first one. It just felt too much like we were really out of the loop, you know?
When Final Fantasy XIII-2 came around, we neglected to get on board. And we also didn't really listen to what the general audience thought of it. From what we gathered, it was relatively the same, but Square Enix at the very least tried to improve where some of the mistakes were made, like reducing the linear paths and trying to add more exploration and side quests. If we remember correctly, a lot of the backlash had something to do with the ending and possibly the lack of exposure of the main hero and Lightning being involved as much as the fans had wanted.
But now here we are with Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns, the conclusion of the trilogy. Now I know it is a bit late, but you gotta give us a little bit of slack that RPGs take a lot longer to do when it comes to reviews because there's so much ground to cover. I mean, let's be honest, we're not IGN. We can't come up with a very thorough review in just a short amount of time.
I mean, it's not like we're getting paid for this. It took a while, but what has Lightning Returns done that the first two didn't? Well, be surprised when we say that Lightning Returns serves to be the best of the three, and is almost entirely different in a great way. Here's the review.
I've been fighting Destiny for a long time now, and I'm getting good at it.
The intro for Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII serves to be a great spectacle. It quickly immerses you into the world with its visual textures, graphics, and of course its soundtrack.
But it's a double-edged sword. Like the game before, the story isn't very linear, meaning you will undoubtedly be confused immediately as to what the heck is going on here. The ending of the previous venture definitely wasn't anywhere near this scenario. But as to be expected, you can be guaranteed that the story will unveil itself as you progress through the game. Only doing so will it start to make sense.
The story follows 500 years after the events of 13-2. Shortly thereafter, a darkness called the Chaos breached and flooded the world, changing the rules of reality. The human race was no longer bound to the course of age and death, aside from disease and accidents. Now, the original cast, save for Lightning, became accustomed to their brand new lives. As for Lightning herself, she had recently awoken and was given a new task from a fictional god to become the savior of the planet and perform a sort of rapture for humanity to help deliver them to a brand new world. It's argued that you don't need to play the previous games to understand the story, although we can't deny that it wouldn't help your knowledge of the land be great.
If you're killed, it really will mean the end of the world. And then who can you save?
Alright, fine. Take me back to the Ark.
The gameplay portion of the game is where it really differed the most. It changed so much, in fact, that we're not even sure where to really begin this time around. But that's not going to stop us from trying. For those unaware, the company known as XIII also somehow got its feet wet and involved in the title. Where, we're not exactly sure, but it does show, as the game does resemble a very familiar Star Ocean franchise.
You got it!
Now in battle, Lightning can move around and attack freely with one of the commands you are given. When it comes to party members, they are very rare, as in almost not there at all. Only a few areas will briefly have an old ally fight alongside you or a new one, but they won't be permanent. Your entire focus of gameplay will be dedicated to upgrading everything Lightning can do. Costumes are the biggest key. Through the entire game, you will gain costumes from stores, DLC, or adventures. Each one contains certain specifics that could be handy in different situations. The downloadable costumes are definitely the best, since they will likely have maxed abilities like Yuna's elemental attack, or Cloud's heavy strikes, or even evasive attacks with Lara Croft's suit from the latest Tomb Raider game. Each outfit is complete with a signature moveset, and quotes, and poses, and even music. There's a ton of outfits to find and use, so mixing and matching will take a lot of time, but it's the perfect strategy that you will want to build.
Oh, you're sharp as a knife, aren't you? When did you get to know so much about things?
In the place of party members, Lightning can now switch on the fly between 3 different costumes that can be selected through the shoulder buttons. Doing so makes for some nice strategy work and will keep each costume's ATP gauge refilling so they can do more attacks or spells with them. But that's not all. While selecting each costume, you can equip weapons and items to each one to better suit yourself for combat. It's up to you to find out what's the best combination of weaponry and items that will do. There are tons of options. Aside from the weaponry as well, you can also adjust each costume's set of attacks. We stated before that some costumes have at least one specific move dedicated to them. Those can't be removed, but you can equip moves like different kinds of blocks, status ailments, element attacks, and regular attacks. As you progress, you will access more moves once you find them and synthesize them. Once again, you have plentiful options. Just like, an RPG.
What's it gonna be?
Outside of battles, you will find that the rules of Final Fantasy XIII have changed dramatically. No more are you condemned to searching through hallways, but now you have an unbelievably huge overworld map that you can explore, with a whole bunch of dungeons and hidden areas that you can find.
And it's not always easy. Sometimes you will need some secret items or special benefits to gain access to hidden areas. Even the time of day affects the world around you. The clock is ticking, and that is the most important part. You have literally a few days of game time to complete the game. Very similar to The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask with its 3-day time limit. Fortunately, it's not nearly as sadistic. While yes, you have only so many days or you're up. You are, however, given plenty to do to keep that from happening. How you do this is by doing the many quests you will find while scavenging the world around you. Hundreds of NPCs will require your aid to do simple to very difficult tasks. Completing as many of these as you can are a key factor, since this is the only way you will gain experience, as well as gain more days to keep the clock at bay. You no longer gain experience in battle, but yes, instead by completing side quests and main quests, you will get power boosts. We'll have it be known to all that every side quest is 100% completely optional, and if you are a god among gamers, all you will need to do is complete the 5 main quests, and then you will have completed your goal.
However, that would not be wise for casuals or newbies. Side quests are the driving force of this game, and they are very fun to do. Some can be kind of a chore, but most can be done without a sweat. As each day closes, you go back to the Ark where you can relax and adjust yourself. Your EP gauge, which serves as an over-limit attack, can be used for a few things, such as escaping battles and quickly healing or overclocking an enemy to get some extra hits in. With gil you get from defeating enemies, you can purchase new weapons, suits, and recovery items to use in battle. The difficulty curve can be moderate to high. Thankfully, it eases you in and doesn't get carried away all at once. With enough balancing, strategizing, planning, and quests completed, you shouldn't have too much of a difficult time. But play smart, or you can be in trouble.
You don't know what you're talking about.
The soundtrack to this game is amazing. Each track perfectly fits the area that you're in. And the soundtrack itself may be worth the purchase.
To a shocking surprise, Final Fantasy XIII Lightning Returns actually ends up getting one of our highest recommendations.
Though the story for some or most might be a taboo or a very controversial piece, the story does by the end of the game come full circle and completes the trilogy with a nice ending to wrap up the games and actually live up to the word of being a Final Fantasy. With tons of quests and exploration to do, with a lot of fun options and costumes to have fun with, and an amazingly huge, exciting world to explore, we were amazed at how well Lightning Returns would not allow us to put the game down.
No matter what, I always pull through.
The combat leaves you in control. The graphics stand out and are pleasing to the eye, naturally. And although the concept has definitely changed from the original Final Fantasy games, Lightning Returns is definitely one you should try out.
I'd introduce myself, but I'm guessing that you already know who I am.
Well, boys and girls, that is our review of Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. From here on out, it's your call. Meanwhile, you have been watching the BrotherhoodOfGaming.com video game review show. I am your host, William Morris.
And I am your co-host, Eugene Morris.
Without a doubt, keep on gaming, friends, and don't forget to subscribe to our wonderful channel, hit us up on our website, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Google, all of that amazing stuff. And please, by all means, check out our channel, check out all of our other great reviews and our fun videos, because we do a ton of them and we do it for fun. It's awesome. I mean, like you said, we're not getting paid for this, right? Anyway, I don't know. Keep on gaming, viewers. We'll see you next time.
Click on these links. You know you want to. Do it. Na 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 na.